Are we ready for another question?
Yeah, bring it on.
All right, this time we are Cindy Brell. Eyes, Dr. Tyson Lou and Lord Nice. Cindy from Tualatin, Oregon. My question, I like this. My question is consciousness. Is consciousness the result of quantum physics?
Ha! 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 What a great question.
What people, because we don't really understand consciousness and no one understands quantum physics. So you just get one of those to explain the other and we're all fine.
Yeah.
In this clip, Neil deGrasse Tyson and Chuck Nice have an interesting discussion about whether consciousness could be the result of quantum physics. That simple question opens the door to a much bigger discussion about free will, the limits of science, and whether quantum uncertainty has anything to do with human awareness. I also have some thoughts I'll share at the end of the clip.
This is another great question. Thank you, Cindy. And in fact, this is a question that I was asked, like exactly word for word, when I was at the American Astronomical Society meeting back in January. I know, like I said earlier, I'm still feeling really good about that meeting. I really was. I mean, the world is on fire. I mean, it's also in ice. Things are just messed up. But when I went there,
see what he did there, Chuck? The world is on fire and on ice.
It's also in ice. Yeah.
Yes. That was Robert Frost, everybody. I didn't invent that. But when I was there and I was just with all the wonderful young people at the American Astronomical Society meeting, presenting their research, asking questions, talking, being together, it just felt so good. It felt like the future is what matters. Things can suck, but that's only now. And the world is in good hands. I felt so good about that.
Not if I can help it.
But anyway, yes, this was asked. A student of mine. Now, Neil, you were even a trustee, a counselor of the American Astronomical Society. So you're deeply into this society.
As were you. I mean, you were on the board as well for a while.
That is correct. Yes, it's
so people know the American Astronomical Society is the organizing group of professional astrophysicists in the country.
That's right. And in fact, all of North America, there are more members of it than the International Astronomical Union, which was the organization that, amongst other things, helped you demote Pluto, Neil.
Don't blame that on me. Pluto had it coming. Pluto so had it coming. But the official vote was the IAU.
IAU, right. So the AAS is a great organization. And how
many is it up to?
8,000 members.
8,000 members, and there are 8 billion people in the world.
That's right.
So that makes us
1 in a million.
If you do the math,
that's
1 in a million.
That's right. So it's very cool. And so many people there, there were about 3,000 people there overall, and so many of them were students, younger people. And one of those folks had come up to me and said, hey, I remember hearing you guys talking about free will. And that made me wonder, is consciousness quantum? Is it quantum consciousness? And is that why there's free will? Because there's uncertainty in the quantum realm that we can't pin down. And so we can't determine what we're going to do at any given moment.
So we interpret that uncertainty as free will.
Possibly, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. When we talked way back in the day, right? Wasn't that long ago, but it feels like a long time ago, about free will, we were actually asking ourselves, right? At what point do we say we don't know what's coming next, right? And the more and more science we've done about human behavior and physics and so forth, the more we think we know how determined the system is, and we just have reached a boundary where we don't know. It could be all the way down at the quantum level. Now, there have been ideas about consciousness for a long time tying to physics. In fact, Nobel laureate Roger Penrose had come up with a hypothesis with some of his colleagues decades ago, suggesting that consciousness is sort of like the quantum spaces in between our synapses.
And that is not why he got his Nobel Prize.
That is not why.
To be clear.
No, that's a different thing.
He got it for black holes.
That's right. But nevertheless, very creative guy. He did all kinds of stuff about tessellations, mathematics, and things like that as well. And so he gave this particular hypothesis about how we store information, right? The bottom line is, in my opinion, and I use that term a lot because I like putting things down to the bottom, we haven't yet defined consciousness.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Philosophers will, and I know you love philosophers, Neil. I mean, you embrace them and you think that they're awesome. So So I'll quote philosophers as much as I can here, that everything is conscious. It's just the different levels of consciousness that matter, right? Gary, let me ask you, when you played soccer, did you sometimes feel like the ball had a mind of its own?
There were days, but basically I worked out that it was mainly user error on my behalf.
Nice.
Right.
Mainly.
Right.
Yeah.
So philosophers of consciousness sometimes do argue that the soccer ball does have its own consciousness, but it's at such a low level, right? Such a level that we cannot understand, that how hard it's kicked, whether the valve was affected or not, whether the wind is blowing, whether there's a spin, things like that, fully explains how it moves, and that its own free will or its own consciousness has no effect.
Well, then what good is it?
The soccer ball?
What good is it to have consciousness if it's of no effect, zero agency, and zero influence on outcomes? The whole idea of consciousness is that you somehow can influence an outcome. Other than that, what good is it really?
Well, I don't know. That's a really great point. If you have this kind of consciousness, if it even exists, right? Think we humans, I don't know, what is something that we have that serves no purpose, and yet we have it, and therefore it is part of who we are.
An appendix.
There you go. The fact that you have an appendix, does that make you different from when you have your appendix removed because it got infected? Are you the same as you were before? And if you aren't, what is it about removing that particular part of you? Is it that part's consciousness, that part's quantum effects, that part's physical effects that make you a different person?
Now, do I have insurance or not? Because I live in America.
That is
well, that's a good point. You can have, there is obsolescence that is a part of us. So, and I'm sure it served a purpose at some point, and now it doesn't.
Right.
So
consider it on an even deeper level, right? Surgery isn't necessary. Our skin cells completely cycle through every month or so, right? Everything that used to be the dermis, epidermis, and then it flakes off.
Yeah, they slough off.
So it is completely true that none of us here at this meeting have the same skin cells that we did when we were
a month
growing
ago.
Up. Maybe not even same muscle cells. We have a lot of the same bone cells, a lot of the same brain cells, but a lot of them are gone now, right? But our consciousness continues. And in fact, our consciousness continues to grow because we continue to experience things. You and I think my consciousness is enriched and improved because I'm hanging out with you guys today, right?
Give it time.
How does our consciousness continue even though our physical characteristics have discontinued?
The best evidence that nobody understands consciousness is how many books are written on the subject.
That's true for quantum
book that
physics
says consciousness explains means no one really understands it.
But it's worth thinking about, isn't it?
Definitely.
And so this is
for context. That's it on the consciousness shelf of the library in the bookstore. There's no end of consciousness books. But you go to the gravity section, there's like 2 books.
Yeah, but one of them is big. It's Thorne Wiseman Wheeler,
and then
right?
like another book.
Yeah.
Right. So, but I'm just saying we're not continuing to rewrite a book on gravity because gravity is understood. So don't confuse the existence of a book that says something is explained as a statement of the state of the science behind it.
I think that's a very good point. And so this question that Cindy has about quantum consciousness, right, is that point. Can the quantum properties that are inherent in our brains or in our overall physical systems allow us to hold together something, what we're calling consciousness, that persists despite our physical changes being so radical?
I hope so. That's all I can say, is because that is the greatest possibility that our consciousness will extend beyond our so-called life, our physical life.
Right.
That is the greatest case to make, that we could in some way go on, especially when you think about the fact that, well, the question before that when we talk about entanglement and different dimensions, that maybe we could actually exist on a higher plane of being in another dimension because of quantum consciousness. And the only way we can find out, people, is to go ahead and die.
No.
And with that, we've reached the end of the clip. I'll leave you with my final thoughts on the topic. In my view, the most honest answer to the question of whether consciousness is the result of quantum physics is that we simply do not know. Despite all the advances in neuroscience, physics, and psychology, consciousness remains one of the biggest unsolved mysteries in science. At the moment, there is no conclusive evidence showing that consciousness is caused by quantum processes, but there is also no definitive proof ruling that possibility out. More importantly, I don't think science, no matter how advanced it becomes, can guarantee a final and absolute answer to every question about consciousness. As our knowledge grows, we often solve some mysteries only to uncover new ones. The limits of our understanding may continue to shift, but that doesn't necessarily mean every aspect of consciousness will eventually be explained with complete certainty. Human beings are naturally uncomfortable with uncertainty. We tend to prefer explanations even when the evidence is incomplete because ambiguity can be frustrating. That's why debates about consciousness often attract strong opinions and competing theories. People are drawn toward interpretations that make the unknown feel more understandable. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think consciousness will eventually be fully explained by science, or do you believe there will always be aspects of it that remain beyond our understanding? If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.